systems go. Clear for liftoff.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday. Hope you all having a great day. Talking with baseball with my man, Gyiraszin. 10 games today. No weather to worry about. Man, outside of the name Pablo Lopez at pitcher, it is pretty interesting. Coors Field, Chicago win game. I mean, man, we got a pretty good slate in terms of bats. I'm excited talking with you, Gyiraszin. Try and find some other pitchers not named Pablo Lopez. Go collect. Greg, Gator Nation, Lyle, Richie Smalls, Cody, Camera Bro, hope you guys doing well. Appreciate everyone hanging out. Like always, throw it to you right away, my man. How's your weekend? How's baseball been going? What's going on in your world?
Oh, man, can't complain. Had a great week. Actually did a lot of damn bowling. Won our 32-team league championship last week, which was pretty cool. Get a couple grand from that. So I was excited. It's been like 3 or 4 years since my team won, but we beat a bunch of youngsters. A bunch of 50-year-olds beat some 20-year-olds. So that was pretty cool. Felt pretty good. But, man, I've been playing more DK lately. Yeah, it ain't like me, Title. I had all the money in my account from the Masters takedown I had, and I just, just kept rolling it. Next thing I know, it just keeps going. Hey, not so bad. But, been enjoying baseball so far. We're getting to that time of year, where some of these stats, we got enough games in, where we can kind of see what's going on. I've been kind of paying attention a little bit more to, like I was kind of saying last week, just watching this, what teams are hot, which teams are not. Yesterday, man, I wasn't really happy with that Padres team at all, man. They've been hitting like shit, and I'm thinking, I don't care if they're going in Coors or not. As a team, they're hitting like shit. Then they lose Machado. I was like, I'm out. But worked out good, man. If you check my core out yesterday, I had DR Nod in there as my core. I had Julian in there from Minnesota. I had the Braves, and I had the Twins. Heavier on the Twins than the Braves. So that ended up working out pretty well for me. But, hey, been exciting. I like this slate here today. Like you said, Pablo Lopez, I mean, you got to play him, right? I mean, the White Sox suck. So, but I think there's a bunch of other guys. I think it's going to be fairly spread out probably today at some pitching. I think there's some good low price options out there that look intriguing to me. I actually made a couple bets on some stuff already today on some props, which I normally don't do. But when I was looking at some stuff, I thought, man, this don't seem right. But either way, man, I think it's pretty good. I want to see if, you guys can talk me into any other SP2s over there on DK. I was going pretty low, and I'm thinking, man, I can got some room for some bats, even if I do use Lopez. But we'll get into that here as we move on. But, man, can't wait. We got some draft coming up Thursday here in Detroit. We got some NFL drafts, so looking forward to that. But, man, exciting times here. And here around here, you can't even move around Detroit, Title. It's like a freaking mess, man. They got tents and shit over all these roads are blocked off. I got to go down there for work sometimes, and it was some tough navigating today.
How's the weather, at least? You got the sunshine out, or is it back to the usual cloudy, dreary, 52? What you got?
Yeah, it's been bouncing back and forth. We've had some sunny days here, and maybe in the high 60s, which not too bad. We're getting there. We turned the corner. We haven't been worrying too much about the cold, but yeah, you know how it is in the north. You're spoiled out there now. I mean, you're a Wisconsin boy. You know what's going on out here. I mean, we're getting there. We're turning the corner. When that St. Patrick's Day hits, that's like the start of it for me. So we're about, 6 weeks past that now. So we're ready. We're ready for some summer over here in Michigan.
Most definitely. I think these hitters are also ready for some warm weather too, man.
Yeah,
It's been a little rough. So yeah, I hope we see someone score at least double digits today. No more 7, 4s, 3s. One of these 10 teams or 20 teams, 10 games, got to put up a crooked number today. Got our man Rio in chat. So I got the NBA slate playing up. It's not just MLB going on right now. I mean, man, these games are great. That Denver Lakers game yesterday, just keep hammering Denver live. Felt lucky to get away with that one, but Pelicans and OKC just before 2 night games. And yesterday, I mean, the Knicks game was absolutely insane too. we've been treated to really good playoff basketball so far. We still got plenty of time with that. Rio's done a great job. Showdown content. Been on point. Saw another shipper. Actually, let me pull it up quick. Who shipped? Hold on. B Belky 21. Great showdown right up last night. Rio, first place, $175. Awesome showdown. Hoedown logo there. So congrats to you guys. Saw some pick six winners, a lot of MLB winners as well. Shout out to our guy, Kill Bill, founding family member, been in here a long time. Shipped that little FanDuel live final, baby. Or didn't ship the live final. Got us to the live final with those twins. So shout out to you, Kill Bill. I see Jake right here. Almost took it down yesterday. Ready to run it back today. Again, 10 games. We'll get right into it. First, as always, though, shout out to our MLB sponsors sponsoring the shows, 4 Deep. Hey, man, shout out to 4 Deep as well. I see Tommy G. I pull up Twitter every single time. Tommy G's cashing some bet. Absolutely been on fire in these playoffs. I saw the Canes. If you want to give them a try, right there, copy that link, shipitnation.com/4 Deep. If you're a member, you get a 2-week trial. If not, you get 20% off using that promo code SHIPIT. Not just picks, education, process as well. But he's definitely been on a heater I have seen. So shout out 4 Deep as the MLB sponsor. And if you want to join us at shipitnation.com. I know it's a weird golf week. Hoops still did a show. Prize pools are still pretty big. Got golf this week. MMA's back this week. NHL playoffs, we still got you there. MLB going on. NBA, NASCAR, all the sports, no better price. Monthly, 6-month annual packages. You can use promo code HOOP15. If you want to give us a try weekly, no Discord, but you can see $24 for a week to see everything on the site. Can't get a better deal out there. Hoop15 gets you 15% off. Let's talk some baseball. Gyiraszin, get like button. Always appreciated from you guys. Hope y'all having a great day out there. 10 games. We're going to get right into pitcher Gyiraszin. 9.8K to 8K. Marcus Stroman. Man, feels like every time we're on a show, Marcus Stroman's on the freaking slate. It's absolutely crazy. Say the same thing every time. Better real life pitcher than DFS pitcher. Gets a good matchup against Oakland, though. Grayson Rodriguez sitting there at 9.6. Pablo Lopez, by far the chalk. After Pablo Lopez, I do think ownership is relatively spread out, but he gets the nut match against these awful White Sox. Lopez been rounding into form. The K prop, 7.5. Only 2 K props above 5.5 today. Lopez, 7.5. Little juice on the under. Then Grayson Rodriguez, 6.5. Some juice on the under. Actually, -105, -125. So pretty much a coin flip there. Pablo Lopez over +110. Otherwise, you get a bunch of 5.5, 4.5, even some 3.5 K props. Throw it to you right at pitcher Gyiraszin. Stroman down to Max Fried, 9.8K to 8K. Yeah, start with, I guess, Pablo Lopez, or you can start however you want. Work your way up, or start up, work your way down. How do you see pitching?
Let's start from the bottom, work our way up. That seems like a little more fun.
There you go.
Max Fried, at that price, yeah, he struggled a little bit here, but this guy's an ace, man. This guy is a hell of a pitcher. He already had, I think he had a matchup against Miami. It wasn't even it seems like it was like last week. It seemed
his
like
performance.
2 weeks ago, had a pretty good game, 26 points. This guy here, I think after Pablo, like you said, I think it's going to be pretty mixed up. I don't see really anybody yanking too much of the ownership. I think it's going to be pretty mixed up for me, but you got the win equity. We've been looking at his pitch count, 96, 84, 97. So we like that. So, we're sitting there. I think it's kind of, you hate to say safe, but at this price, it's pretty damn safe, So I think you're going to see 5-6 Ks. You'll probably get 5-6 innings out of him. He should be pitching with a lead, which is what, you want your pitcher to be doing. So yeah, I like Max Fried here. I think that's definitely interesting. Obviously I didn't look and see what, let's see, what are they minus? The Braves are pretty big favorite, obviously.
Yeah, they're pretty big favorites.
Yeah, there's definitely interest there.
Minus like 250, minus like 270. Yeah, big
yeah.
favorites.
So you look up at Waka, moving on up. I really don't have any interest there. Waka's a guy I kind of like to pick on a little bit, so not really interested there. Now Gausman, skill wise, Gausman's probably one of the better strikeout pitchers on the whole slate. But just hasn't been himself here lately. But, does get a matchup here against Kansas City. Kansas City's been a team we've been stacking a little bit here. So I'm not really interested. I got Gausman ranked down a little bit lower than normal. You got Webb over there against the Mets. I think that one's a little bit interesting at 9K. If you wanted to go there, I think he'll be pretty low owned. You get a guy though that does have some strikeout capability. He'll be less than 10% owned. So that's kind of interesting for me. But then you get over here to Gilbert. I think Gilbert's interesting. I mean, this guy here has been pitching lights out. I mean, this guy's really good. The only thing I don't like is the matchup, right? But I mean, Texas has got a lot of power there. They don't really have too many high K strikeout bats there above 25%. You got two in the middle. Carter's 24%. Adolis Garcia sitting at 28% K rate. But everybody else is, your low 20s, so below MLB average there. So, I mean, Gilbert, definitely interesting. If you wanted to go there, I think he's a pretty good pivot off of Lopez if you wanted to do that and not have Lopez in your lineup, especially on DK where the two-pitcher site. So I definitely find him interesting. Obviously above him, you got Pablo Lopez. I mean, White Sox, that's all you need to see. There's a few teams that we're going to start chasing around. Obviously, the White Sox are one of them. I mean, they're already talking the White Sox are going to be one of the worst teams in MLB history. I mean, they are pretty shitty. But, Pablo Lopez, he's definitely got the K upside. As you mentioned, the K prop sitting at a nice juicy number there, 7.5. So definitely like that. And then moving up, Grayson Rodriguez. I think this is pretty interesting too. I think Grayson is a guy that might go a little bit lower owned than we like, especially on DK at that price. He's sitting up at the second highest price pitcher. And then how in the hell is Marcus Stroman the highest price pitcher? I don't know. I mean, the dude's a ground ball pitcher. He's not really a strikeout pitcher. I mean, he has been pitching pretty well. I mean, he's just a better real life pitcher than obviously a DFS pitcher. We want some strikeouts. So obviously, with that being said, I'm not really going to be playing Stroman over on DK, but Grayson Rodriguez is definitely interesting. Lopez is going to be obviously full chalk, but there's a couple other guys too, here down low below this 8K that I think are kind of interesting as well. So I think really title, there's 7 or 8, 9 arms that you could legit make a case for here today. If you take out Lopez, if there wasn't Lopez on the slate, man, I'd have a hard time telling you who the chalk pitcher probably would be. I think it would be a crapshoot.
For sure. And we'll get to lower priced pitching as well because there is bats. If you want to go back to Coors Field with San Diego, some of these Cubs bats, these Braves, if you want expensive Yankees, there's obviously bats to pay for, but there's also 20 games on this slate. Hitting's been slow this year. You need to nail pitching. If I'm playing yesterday, I played the 150, 15K up top. Not sure I'll do that today, but if I do, I'm locking Pablo Lopez. And again, it's all risk tolerance. I'm okay losing. I play the $3. I'm not maxing. I'm okay losing $450. That's it within my bankroll. I don't know. I'm not okay losing, I guess, $2,300, all of it. So I don't max the $15 whatever. But I'm playing Pablo Lopez in every single lineup I built just because, A, the White Sox are that bad. 9.3K, he should be 10.3. He should be 11K on this slate relative to everybody else. I mean, I'll take my chances, figure out SP2, and it also helps me you can mix and match more SP2s if you just lock button Pablo Lopez. I guess you can, mix and match more bats. What do you think Pablo comes in at? 70%, 65% in the lotto? Do you have any strong take? I mean,
I was thinking upper 40s, maybe 50, but I don't know about the 60 or 70. But I think he definitely, and the only reason being is there's so many other options. We're not, you don't have to go that route necessarily. But for me, you're right. I mean, you should just pretty much lock him in, especially on DK, because there's some low end pitchers here that are definitely viable here today. But Lopez for me. I mean, the White Sox suck, man. I mean, you don't have to overthink it. It's pretty easy.
For sure. So I'll go down quick. I'll go the opposite of you, top to bottom, then I'll get you your 8K and below. Stroman, no thing. I don't think Stroman's the worst play. He'd be in my 150 pool, but I would need over 30 lineups to get there because I much prefer Grayson Rodriguez and his upside for 200 cheaper at 9.6K. I really like Grayson Rodriguez, and I think you can easily fit Rodriguez, Pablo Lopez bats and still find something like the Twins. We'll get to these. I mean, I love going right back to the Twins today. A lot of them are cheap, bottom of the order on some of these lineups. So not really much Stroman. I do like Stroman over Gilbert if I had to pick, though, just because the matchup. Man, Texas is tough. Gilbert's treated us well, but it's just not a team I love to pick on. Only a 5.5K prop. Yeah, I don't love Gilbert. Don't love Stroman. Love Rodriguez. Lock button Pablo. No Waka for sure. And then, yeah, Webb, Gossman, Fried. I think you mix in all of them. I don't know, man. I think Gossman with the most upside, 5.5K prop, minus 150 on the over. But his downside seems a lot. His floor seems lower than Logan Webb's. It seems lower than Max Fried as well. So I think that's why I just lock button Pablo, mix and match these other guys, because I don't have a strong take on any of these other ones. I know Grayson Rodriguez is my second favorites. He's tough on righties. I mean, you get Trout, you get the best Angels bats are righties. He can navigate this bottom of the order for sure. Yeah, I mean, by far my favorite. You get through Ward, you get through Trout, the bottom of the order is Cheeks. So Rodriguez number 2. I think you have the money to play both of them. I like Osman at 8.5. Webb's more like a safe play. Max Fried, you get the win. The strikeout's still 4.5, though. I don't even love Fried much at 8K. So, yeah, how I got it, no Stroman, no Gilbert, no Waka. Lopez 1, Rodriguez 2, Gossman 3. Going down 8K and below on this one, though, it's not often you see a Coors Field pitcher getting a lot of ownership. I think Michael King might come in the second, the third highest owned pitcher on the slate because, A, Colorado's not good. 7K for King coming off a monster performance, 10 strikeouts. And, yeah, I mean, he's 7K. Like, you get 13 on this slate at 7K. That could be on the winner because you're saving 2.6K from Rodriguez, 2K from Gilbert, 1.8 from Webb. And to be honest, I have him projected better than all of them. I have him projected better than Gilbert, Webb, Gossman, etc. At that discount, I think he's going to get ownership. Decent size favorite as well. It is Coors Field. I don't love throwing pitchers there. I especially don't love pitchers, kind of chalky pitchers in Coors Field that aren't aces. And it's not like King's been great all year. He struggled a little bit early. I'm going to throw it to you on this one. Definitely talk King to start, but Luis Severino's down there that could get some ownership. Dane Dunning, Griffin Canning, all the way punt, JP France. I don't love these guys. No doubt about that. I will say my favorite down here. Oh, gosh. I don't know. You mentioned Dane Dunning earlier. Maybe I would go Dane Dunning. Canning, no, I don't want to pick on Baltimore. Severino, I guess, is fine against San Fran. Maybe that'd be him at 7-8, but I prefer Fried. I prefer Gossman for a little more. I kind of want to stay more in this upper range. But, yeah, talk Michael King to start and then talk 8K and below.
Yeah, Michael King is definitely a guy I'm going to be looking at here today. Colorado stinks. They're another team we're chasing around like the White Sox. I mean, we saw what Cease did yesterday, came out, had a great game, and, kind of started out a little slow, but then he piled them up there at the end. But, yeah, I think King has definitely played. Looking at his pitch count, he did have 109 pitches. He's had 96, 94. So I think that is definitely something that we like. I mean, we know the leash is there. I mean, the win equity is there. I think everything's in line there. And as you said, I mean, at the price, we're sitting here looking at 7K. I mean, man, this guy here, to me, you could see so many paths of this guy being on the winner. I think this guy here, it could be one of my favorite pitcher plays here today. But, yeah, for me, everybody else down here, it's kind of some shady Wicks. I'm not really interested in against Houston. As you mentioned, Canning, no thanks. I don't want to attack Baltimore. But Dane Dunning, I think, is interesting. Seattle strikes out the second most. I mean, they've been this absolutely – Julio Rodriguez sucks right now. That dude can't hit a damn beach ball. So, I mean, Dunning is definitely interesting. You got a guy sitting down there at 6,600 with a 5.5K prop. I mean, you don't see that often, to be honest with you. So I
shouldn't be crazy either. I think that is the pivot off of King. And I will just say quickly, like, man, I just don't love, if I'm jamming Pablo, I do not love eating two chalk, whether it's Lopez King. I think you just got to get a little different at bats. Again, this is the game theory. It's how you play them. It's not like, oh, I'm fading this guy. So you can eat chalk. You can eat double chalk pitcher like King Pablo in plenty of lineups. Just, I wouldn't jam them with the San Diego Padres 1 through 5. I guess they're not even going to be mega chalk today. Some of these Cubs are going to get ownership. We'll get to bats. I think stack ownership will kind of be spread out as well. But you have to know, like, stack the bottom of the order on kind of a chalkier team or something. You can't just go jam in Cubs or Padres or something with King, with Lopez, like everyone else, and leave $0. So just want to say that I prefer Pablo over King. So if I had to fade one, I'd prefer fading King for sure, personally.
Yeah, I mean, King is definitely played, but I think Dunning too, as you mentioned, is definitely a great pivot. I like picking on Seattle right now. I mean, as we said, they're just striking out quite a bit. Dunning, though, the only thing that scares me is his walks. Like he's pretty wild sometimes. You look at his walks; he had 4 walks last game. He's had 2, 3. I mean, we don't need to give up a hit and get a couple walks, and then you get yourself into a big inning trouble. But I mean, you're looking at him 5Ks, 3Ks, 7Ks, 7Ks. I mean, if I can get 7 Ks out of my $6,600 pitcher today, who, probably got a pretty decent shot at a win, I mean, that's pretty intriguing for me. So I think that's definitely interesting down there, but not really much else down there. I'm not playing France, no way. Feltner, I'm not really looking at. Feltner is a little interesting, though. I mean, to be honest, that dude, his K rate's been up a little bit this year from the past. San Diego sucks, man, especially without Machado. I knew better than that one yesterday, but I'm not going there either. But man, at this bottom part, I think you got Dunning and King. I think Dunning is the perfect pivot off King. If you really wanted to get crazy, you could put Dunning and King in a lineup and basically play whatever you want. Pretty much. I mean, you could load up on the Braves if you want. If you wanted to, you could probably throw in some heavy Orioles too. But I think that's interesting. I definitely like those 2 pitchers down there below 8K.
What about I was making sure I was on the right mic. Yes, I'm on the right mic. What about Severino? It's 4.5K prop, a little juice on the over. He's been solid this year.
He's just a guy. His pitch counts are there. I mean, I can see it. I don't blame you. He's just a guy I don't like to play title, to be honest with you. Severino's he's boomer bust a lot of times. I'm just not a fan there at all. At this, San Francisco aren't too many strikeouts in that lineup either. So I'm just not. There's other spots here that I like other than paying up a little too high for a Severino. I think I'd rather play Fried than Severino.
Yeah, we talked about Fried, Richie Smalls. We definitely like him. Andrew, we just talked about Feltner. Him and I don't have much interest. Rankings all proprietary. There's no, it's all data driven. Definitely check that out and the breakdown on the stack rankings page or the pitcher rankings page. Just because they're number 1 though does not necessarily mean that we like them. I'm not playing Feltner, but Gyiraszin did make a case that it's not the craziest thing. I will say, Severino, I think like Logan Webb Severino, just man, a 7 total, 55 degrees, 60 degrees, a pitcher's park in San Fran on a slate that we're fine with 16. I think Logan Webb and Severino in that game are 2 guys that I will be looking at. And I do think Severino both of those guys, I think, come in lower owned, then Fried, then King, obviously then Pablo Lopez, etc. So how I break down pitching to cap it off, I definitely don't like that lower range much. The only guys down there that I play, Dunning, King, Severino below 8K. Yeah, I like staying up top. Grayson Rodriguez, Pablo, those are the 2. If you told me 2 pitchers scored 28 plus today, I'd be surprised if Pablo would for sure be the guy I think there. I think Grayson too with the strikeout upside. I'm not really sure who, unless you get a vintage free strikeout game, which you really don't see much. Gossman, but I don't KC can get hot. A Logan Webb's not getting you 10, 11 Ks here. I guess King maybe too. He'd be the guy that I guess could get you 28. We saw last game the 10 Ks. It is Coors Field, but Colorado's not good. I want upside on this slate. Again, it's going to be Lopez, King, Fried, Rodriguez, I think, in terms of ownership. I think kind of in that order. Lock button Pablo, like Grayson for upside. I like Logan Webb in the pitching game. Gossman, I like a little bit. 5.5K prop juice on the over. Long-term sample of him being a good strikeout pitcher. So I think taking a little risk, I guess, for the upside against KC, I'm into. And Frieda is safe for a win, but man, I don't see him going out there and putting up 25 plus in this one. So my top 4: Pablo 1, Grayson 2, Webb 3, Gossman 4. I guess Sev would be 5. What do you got? Again, because I don't want to pair Pablo and King as much is the reason I left him out.
I think I got Pablo Rodriguez, Gilbert, King. And then I'd probably go Dunning, then Fried.
I like it. Yeah, the Dunning call definitely makes sense. And again, this is more a DraftKings, a 2-pitcher site. FanDuel, I mean, Pablo's going to be mega. Let's just talk real quick, FanDuel, Gyiraszin. Anybody, he's 10.2K. Grayson's all the way up at like 10.8K. Obviously, that should be flop. Stroman at 9.7, King's 9K, Fried's 8.3. So I guess right there's a big enough discount. 1.9K from Lopez down to Fried. That's what stands out to me. Gossman at 8.4, Severino 8.5. No thanks as much. I think I'd rather go, 8.3 or 8.4 Fried Gossman and just try and flip the build a little bit if I'm not playing Pablo on FanDuel instead of like hoping Grayson matches them or Logan Webb matches them, etc. King is in that dead zone a little bit, 9K. I don't think that's the craziest play either. He'll be a lot lower owned over there. But yeah, I'd still rather save like the 800 or try and find the 1,200 for Pablo. Any thoughts on FanDuel one pitcher site?
Yeah, Pablo is going to probably be the chucker. But I think if you play Pablo, you're going to be stuck into stacking like the Twins or somebody, a really cheap stack. I think, I mean, to me, I think Grayson Rodriguez is interesting over there. I mean, I think the top end pitchers are going to be mixed up a little bit. I actually think that over on FanDuel, pitcher will be mixed up a little bit more over on DK, where Pablo Lopez is going to be extremely chalk. And I bet you, Lopez is probably in the mid 20s, maybe. I would say maybe 30s. Yeah, on FanDuel, just because it makes you not play some of the bats you may like, right? So I think some people are going to look at that.
I will say, you still have Cody Bellinger at 2.9, Dansby at 2.9.
Right.
These Astros are Bragg 2.7. They're just too cheap. Like some of these guys, Coors, like Xander 3.5 in the one hole. He's usually like 4.2K. I think people will probably make it work, to be honest, like a 55%. I think it'll be real chalk on both.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I when I was looking at it, I was thinking, I don't know if he'll be that chalky. He may be very well, but we'll have to break it all down and check it out. Maybe tomorrow we could think back to this one here and see what Lopez was, because I don't know if he'll be that high. I've been kind of going back and forth a lot of times, and sometimes the ownership is just, especially, I guess, depends. I play in some of the higher dollar stake stuff, so the ownership's a little different than some of the smaller ones. But I think on FanDuel, Lopez, I like Rodriguez. I think Gilbert is safe. I don't mind that at all. And I do think that's a pretty good pitching matchup in that Texas and Seattle game. I think both pitchers could be working off each other in that one. So I think that's why a little bit bump more over to Dunning as well. But, man, for me, I mean, I'm just going to probably lock in Lopez and see what happens. I'm just kind of playing with my stacks. I'm trying to decide, to be truthful, if I even want to play Minnesota today. I was on them yesterday. And you know what? Minnesota's one of them teams. Everybody's on them. They suck, but
they just aren't good.
We've been there. We talked about that all last year, how Minnesota bit us in the ass. So they came through for us once. But
they came through for us, putting up a 7 spot on a 7-game slate where no one else put up 4, 3, 2. Like it was just one of those slates where those performances don't always win you it. Not Kepler, like there were some of those guys that absolutely nuked, but you had like Carlos Santana. You absolutely didn't want him. Jeffers, I think, might have got there, but you need d'Arnaud. And people talk about d'Arnaud. We're going to get into bats right now. How do you not play d'Arnaud? The answer is really simple: baseball. Just one word, baseball. It's still succeed 3 out of 10 times, you're a Hall of Famer. Of course, he's seeing the ball as well as anyone. Absolutely, nuking. It seems like every time I pull up my phone, Travis d'Arnaud, home run notification. But if he goes 0 for 4 today, there's no surprise one bit about that. So baseball is the only word there. Adam, what's going on? Mark, what's going on? Mark, absolutely been on fire in all these streets. Showdown. Every time I pull up the PGA Discord, something in the Showdown. Mark shipping something big. Met him out here in Arizona. Hope you're doing well, my man. Let's talk some bats, though, on this 10-game slate. Yeah, overview, I do think it's going to be relatively spread out for bats. Coors obviously always gets some. So I think the Padres against Feltner, one of the chalkier teams on the slate. Chicago, good hitting weather today. Winds blowing out. Looks like roughly 15 miles an hour. I think the Cubs against JP France. I think the Astros on the other side against Wicks get some ownership. Braves always get some. They are expensive, though. So, if you go King, Pablo, that's where people are going to get the Acuñas of the world, etc. But, yeah, I don't think we just have one clear, everyone's going to go to this stack. I think Astros, Padres, Cubbies, and I guess Braves are the ones. Yeah, I mean, Baltimore's been swinging, I guess, a little better. I think those are the main stacks right there, though. And they're kind of all going to eat into each other. So I say right from the top, if there's one stack that you look at that's like, Twins, I guess we'll get some too. If there's one team you love today, whether it is Padres, whether it is Cubs, Astros, just go way overweight, I think is the approach today. I don't think you worry about game theory and stack ownership enough on this slate since they all eat into each other personally. So that being said, Gyiraszin, first game of the night, New York Yankees, Oakland Athletics, Marcus Stroman on the mound, Paul Blackburn on the other side, 8 total games in New York, 55 degrees, which you don't love to see. Yankees implied for about 4.8 runs. I'll throw it to you right in this one. I don't love picking on Stroman. I'm not playing these A's. I really don't love picking on Paul Blackburn either. Now, normally he's in Oakland, but another better real-life pitcher can keep the ball on the ground. I mean, with all that being said, though, if you want low-owned Judge, low-owned Soto, low-owned Stanton, low-owned Rizzo, like, you're going to get these guys low-owned. And we know they do have, obviously, big-time upside. So, any interest in these Yankees kind of contrarian?
No, Blackburn's just a guy. He just doesn't get beat up that much. I mean, he's just a decent real life pitcher, not really a strikeout pitcher, keeps the ball on the ground. But you can always play somebody like Judge or Stanton if that's where you want to go for some one-offs. I'm just not interested. I'm not interested in any of the bats here in this game here either. So, Severino, I don't really like any Oakland bats. Nothing for me. I don't even really like any one-offs in that game for Oakland, but you could look at, like I said, Judge or Stanton if you wanted to go there. I'm just not going to go there. Blackburn, he's mid 20% K rate. I mean, fly ball rate is pretty low. Ground ball rate's pretty high. Doesn't get blown up. No reason to stack against a guy like that.
Yeah, I mean, like I would go Soto, Judge one-offs, maybe a Verdugo down below or something, but mini stack one-offs at best. I'm not spending that much on Soto and Judge. Now, it does get you contrarian, no doubt about that, but like usually that's when, if I'm playing the Braves, it's hard to go a 5-man Brave stack and leave off Acuna and then play a Judge. Now, you can do that again in King line, in Pablo Lopez King lineups. If you did something like that, like the Braves or the Padres, and you leave off Tatis and you go Judge instead, those are little ways to get different, but it is really hard to click that button. There's no doubt about leaving the best player off the stack to go to a random one-off. It can work. Obviously, Judge's double dog upside, Soto, etc. 6-2, 6-1, though, is most definitely up there. Not a game I want much exposure to, just Yankees at low ownership again. Verdugo, Soto, Judge.
The Yankees been struggling so much. I mean, they're hitting 200 as a team in the last week with 3 homers. It's just kind of hard to click on that.
Who's not struggling besides Baltimore nowadays, though? None of these bats can wake up.
That's true. We need to get a little bit warmer. There's people saying, is the ball, they trying to, to juice down the ball and, trying to, what are we going to get out them humidors? Remember when that was kind of a thing for a while? It's like, come on, let them hit the ball over the moon. Who gives a shit?
Yeah, we want to see some bombs. Let's get to this next game. Could see some bombs in this one. Miami Marlins, Atlanta Braves, 70 degrees, which sad to say, but 70 is one of the better game environments on this slate. Trevor Rogers, Max Fried on the mound, 8.5 total, 5.5 almost. The Braves are implied for Marlins, one of the lowest team totals on the slate. We talked up Max Fried, or you talked up him a good bit. Just a safe pitcher. We don't love the K upside usually as much for him. Very good in real life. Keep the ball on the ground. I'm not getting any of these Marlins, that's for sure. Trevor Rogers, though, not someone I love to pick on either as much. Really tough on lefties. So, like, the Matt Olsons of the world, the Michael Harris, they only have 2 lefties in their lineup. Or actually, no, their lineup's not even out yet. They're expected to only have two lefties in the lineup. Olsen, Harris. I usually say you can play them to get different, lefty. I probably wouldn't even do that today as much. Travis d'Arnaud, though, everyone keeps talking about him. How do you not play him? One word, baseball, but he is absolutely on fire. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense to click that name. He will get a little steamed ownership, though. Like, everyone knows Travis d'Arnaud is the hottest hitter in baseball right now, so people will click in regardless at a kind of tough catcher position. Yeah, to be honest, I don't love it. And you might be like, wow, Title isn't like the hottest hitter in baseball. Yeah, if he's going to be like 10%, 12% just at the catcher position, I prefer to really just to play him in stacks or nothing too much. Yeah, I don't know. What do you see? Trevor Rogers, not someone I love picking on, but at the end of the day, 7 runs for these Braves could be enough like yesterday. Lineup is out. Okay. Is it just Harris and Olsen?
Yeah, they don't really have anybody else to even really bounce in there. I know, especially with Alvarez.
Kelnick, they're not going to put Kelnick in there. Harris, Olsen. Yeah, it is just the ball in the 7. Just what we expected. Dusty Fletcher in the 9 hole.
Yeah.
Man.
Hey,
yeah,
that's
what
all
do you
right.
see?
But, I mean, just as a rule of thumb, whenever I prefer to play Braves against lefties. I mean, the Braves absolutely destroy lefties. Rogers, sure, in the past, he hasn't been really a guy that gets blown up too much here. But, man, this guy's fly ball percentage against righties is almost at 30%. His hard hit rate is pretty high, 41%. Man, I think a guy like Ozuna today is going to hit a bomb and probably hit 2 bombs. That was one guy there I'd have to have in my Atlanta stack today for sure. I definitely like me some Ozuna. I mean, he's going to be hitting in front of DR Note. So, I mean, this guy here is going to definitely see some pitches because, like you said, he's the hottest hitter in baseball right now. But
well, I got corrected. Sorry. Maybe
Varsho's 6 homers in 10 games. But let's go back and look at some of the – is that the only 6 hits he's got? I don't know. I have to go back and look.
2 hitters.
And Varsho's only like 3,700 or something too, which I don't understand either. But we'll get to that here coming up. But – yeah, I mean, Arcia gets a bump up there. He hits lefties pretty well. He's up there in the 2 hole. The only one really struggling, Duvall normally hits lefties pretty well. He just hasn't been hitting either right now. So maybe he rights the ship here today for them. But definitely like some Braves. The Braves are one of my top stacks here today. Probably my top 3 here today. But yeah, I think there's a few teams here that can score some runs. Braves are obviously. I mean, I think last week somebody put in the chat, all you got to do is stack the Braves every day, and I've been winning money. And for the most part, that's pretty much true because I've been doing the same thing pretty much every day. At least one of my 3 teams has definitely been a 5-man Brave stack over on DK, been doing fairly well. Last night, like I said, I had 5 Twins and 3 Braves and did fairly well. But, yeah, I think Braves are definitely play. Ozuna is my favorite bat here today. I like Arcia up there at the 2 hole as well. You can all go down to Harris if you want. But yeah, I think – especially 1 through 6 is definitely interesting for me.
Yeah. See, I first of all, I played the Braves yesterday, 5-man. I did not win money. So confirmed it's not that easy. You do have to get the right ones. It's easy for me though. David Fletcher's cheeks. I did play him yesterday. If you want to throw him there in the 9 hole, felt the second base position in the stack at 2.2K. I don't think it's crazy, but 4-6 Michael Harris, I wouldn't play him. 5-9 Matt Olson. And again, this is more like on hand building one team. If you're playing 20 teams or 150 or using an optimizer, he falls in there. Sure, 1%, 2%. Braves get to Rogers early, then you get the bullpen. Like it obviously can work out, but on paper, it's a much, much more difficult matchup for the lefties. People will know that. And then if people go like 5-man Braves, they're going to go Acuna, Arcia, O'Reilly, Ozuna, d'Arnaud, Duvall, some combination of them. And that's when I don't really want to go Lopez, King, and those guys because it's just too obvious. Most Braves stacks will have the same players. So if I'm going to go Braves 5-man, I probably won't be playing King. If you don't love Lopez as much, maybe go Grayson as the pivot for Lopez and then go King. Or you go, people are still talking that San Fran game. If you want to go Severino, Logan Webb, 5-man Braves, something like that. Because it's when we get to like these Cubs lineup, 1 through 9, I think people are going to stack. I don't think that's necessarily the case today with these lefties against the lefty and Rogers. So just want to point that out. It's always how you play them. It's not you need to fade them. Just know if they're chalky, etc. Mix and match, play them in a sharp way where many aren't playing them. So yeah, definitely like the Braves though. Top of the order, the righties look really good. They are expensive. There's enough cheap pitchers on the slate to make it work. What's going on? King of Smack. Wins a lot's in here. Juice is in here. Hope you guys doing well. We got Metro Boom dropping some pitcher takes. Yeah, hope everybody out there having a great day. Like button helps us out a ton. Subscribe button helps us out a ton. If you want to get to the top of the leaderboards, I heard just a little extra mojo, a little better chance. Get that SHIPIT Nation logo on there. That can ship you to the top of it. Chicago White Sox, Minnesota Twins, 7 total, and that is because Chicago – like 2.5 runs. Man, you do not ever see that. This lineup is cheeks. Martin Maldonado, Dominic Fletcher, Danny Mendick in the 2 hole, Nicky Lopez in the 1 hole. Yeah, I just played Pablo Lopez. Minnesota side, though, Eric Fetty's cheeks too, Gyiraszin. Now, you did make a good point, though. Twins were on the winner yesterday. You look at this lineup. Nobody above 4.5K in this lineup. Buxton in the 5-hole at 4-4 looks crazy, but man, he has not been good. I don't love playing Carlos Santana. There's Kyle Farmer down there. I think a lot of people go to these Twins if they're going like a Grayson Rodriguez Pablo, if they want like a cheap mini stack to fill the lineup out. I don't know, man. I think these Twins will probably be overowned after what happened yesterday. And I mean, granted, this lineup's really not great either, is this Twins lineup. So 55 degrees, not playing White Sox. Fetty stinks, but I hope he is okay today because I don't really love these Twins personally.
Yeah, Fetty was a guy I used to pick on a couple years ago. He goes over the KBO, all of a sudden figures out how to strike out some guys. I mean, his strikeout rate right now is like 28% versus righties. He's down to a pretty low number against lefties here, but yeah, I don't have any interest in Fetty at all. The Twins don't interest me as much as they did yesterday. I do have some interest in them. I mean, maybe even if I play 3 teams, that's what I was trying to decide. Because I think if you play some high-end pitching, I think the Twins are going to be really high owned just because how cheap they are, as you mentioned.
I think they're a better play. Sorry to interrupt. Better play on FanDuel. Because there's so many cheap bats. I think you'll see the Twins a lot lower owned on FanDuel as the 4-man. Because, like I said, like the Cubs are better priced. The Braves are a little better priced. The Astros, like DraftKings has a little better pricing on hitters today, where I do think FanDuel and the SP2. People are going to punt SP2. Just going Pablo. You need more. I do think you play them more on FanDuel, that they're better.
Yeah, that's a pretty good point. They will be probably not as chalky over there on FanDuel. That's a good one. But, yeah, I mean, Julian's the guy that I really like. That dude is huge. I went to a Twins game last year, and that guy was humongous, man. And you could hear him hitting the ball. It was like the guy, the sound off his bat was, I mean, that guy can hit the shit out of a baseball. I had a homer yesterday. But, yeah, I think he's a guy I'd be looking at here. I mean, lefty-righty, Larnach, he's pretty cheap. You know, was it 2,800? Kiroff, 3,900 up at the top. I mean, this whole lineup is pretty cheap. Definitely like them yesterday. I'm not sure today. Like the Twins are kind of finicky for me. You know, they're not going to be a powerful offense all year. I feel like if it's like I threw the dart yesterday and hit it, you know, it's like, man, it's just that bullseye gets real small when it's the Twins sometimes. I kind of worry about it. Maybe I'm just kind of fearful from last year. Like that's one thing with like baseball DFS. When you start doing a couple things and it burns you a few times in a row, you remember, you know, like especially when you're playing for, you know, 100 odd some days out of whatever, how many days there are of baseball throughout the, you know, season here. But man, I don't know, man. The Twins are kind of scaring me just because they're starting to get some ownership. I want to play the Twins when nobody's on the Twins. You know, like when everybody's on the Twins, it just kind of worries me a little bit. And it just seems like this baseball season has been fading the chalk and pitching, hitting, like nothing has really chalky has not been the way to go so far this year. So, yeah, I think the Twins could be pretty popular today. I think I'm going to bail.
Yeah. The thing is, like, I wish, to be honest, I wish I had a better read on ownership on this slate. Like most slates, it's pretty obvious you come on Cubs, Padres, Houston, by far the top 3. You play anyone but those 3, they're going to be 8% or lower, whatever it may be. I don't know. Like, to be honest, I don't know about the Twins. Like, the names aren't great. The prices are very good, but it's not like people really might jam in double spend pitching. At the end of the day, I think if you think Twins get a little overlooked, I think you play them. If you think they come in at like 12%, 10% stack ownership, that's too high for me. And with these prices, with what they did yesterday, I think the top of the order does all get decent amount of ownership. Bottom of the order, not so much, but I don't really want to be playing a 3-man Carlos Santana, Kyle Farmer, Christian Vasquez if I'm playing the Twins necessarily. So, yeah, more so I'm out on them. I think, again, FanDuel a little better, or, yeah, one-off mini stack to make a lineup work would make some sense there.
Yeah,
let's keep it going.
What Squid's saying there, you know, reason why I'm playing Fetty. The only thing that scares me about Fetty, I kind of dove in him, is this is low K rate against the Twins, and all the Twins powers from the left side. So that's what kind of worries me a little bit there, especially, you know, with Julian Kepler. I don't know. I just think that's just a little bit more risky. If he had, you know, if it was a bunch of righty dominated lineup, and the Twins absolutely suck against right-handed pitching. So, I mean, they do K quite a bit. He just doesn't have a high enough K rate for me against lefties. But I would have had some interest in Fetty if that K rate was a little higher.
Yeah, makes some sense. I agree too. Yep, Kepler back helps. Was back yesterday. Did pretty solid. Twins ain't going to do nothing. Usually don't LSU. So yeah, I'm fine fading the Twins as well. Let's keep it going. Next game. Still plenty to talk about. 10 games on this slate. Toronto Blue Jays, Kansas City Royals. Pretty good hitting weather. 70 degrees in KC. 8.5 total. Kevin Gausman, Michael Wacha on the mound. This is one of those games where, I mean, I liked Gausman a little bit because the upside, 5.5 K prop, minus 150 on the over. But he's been hit around a little bit to start the year. These Royals, like Bobby Witt, can always play him. Great shortstop, has all the upside in the world. Lefties hit Gausman better. Vinny P in the 3-hole. MJ Melendez. Salvi's got pop. First base catcher eligibility. Nelson Velasquez, someone I like to play. So I don't mind that middle of the order, 2 through 6. If Renfro's in there as well. Isbell, if he's in the 9-hole, you can throw him in at 1% ownership in a 5-man stack. I mainly prefer mini stack, and I mainly want to power hunt in the middle of the order. But yeah, I don't think those guys are crazy by any means. The Melendez, the Bobby Witt, Salvi's in there. Toronto, I definitely have more interest in. Wacha, he's just definitely lets up fly balls. I prefer lefties a little bit, even though this is a heavy right-handed Toronto lineup, which is why I don't love it. There you go, Varsho. Someone mentioned him earlier. Definitely looks like a great play. Vladdy, I think Vladdy gets a little bit of ownership, though. 4.7K, you're talking about like a price that stands out. Bo Bichette, 4.4K is cheap. Springer, 4.4. These Blue Jays are cheap. Guaranteed ninth inning at bats. Pretty good hitting weather. Yeah, I mean, if they're coming in 5% stack ownership, 6%, I can get behind some of them. But I think Vladdy, Bo, I think those guys get steamed. Maybe Springer in the 1-hole. Varsho's 3-4. Like, people are definitely going to play him. I guess talk to me what you think about where the Blue Jays fall in line in terms of ownership. There's 10 games, 20 teams, Coors Field, Chicago. I guess they might have to get overlooked a little bit. And then I would have some interest in some Blue Jays. So, yeah, right now I like the Blue Jays. Mini stack for KC if not playing Gausman in the heart of the order. What about you?
Yeah, I'm not really a fan of this Blue Jay team. They haven't really been able to put it together really all that much here this year. But, you know, you talk about Wacha. Wacha, you just look at his numbers. His fly ball percentage is pretty high to lefties, but his fly ball percentage to righties is only 22%. He's got a ground ball rate of 51% against righties, which pretty much this Toronto lineup is righty dominated. I mean, if you wanted to look, Varsho is definitely one of the, we mentioned earlier, 6 homers in his last 10 games. He's pretty cheap over there on DK. I don't mind throwing him in, like an MMA pool, maybe using him as a one-off if you wanted to go there, if you needed an outfielder. But, Wacha just isn't a guy that I normally like to pick on too much just because he's just an old wily veteran, just doesn't seem to get beat up all that much. And Toronto right now just isn't putting it together as a team. I was just trying to see what they were hitting here recently together as a team in the last 7 days. They're not doing too bad, 241. But, Toronto just isn't getting it done at this point for me. So I'm going to stay off of that. Now that Kansas City, I think is interesting. Bobby Witt, I mean, you got to consider him almost every day. I mean, these Royals have been literally probably, the team that stands out the most of, which kind of are surprising, especially in the DFS world, been on a lot of team winning lineups here recently, a lot of the Royals. So, definitely been warming up to the Royals here. I mean, I'll admit there's a lot of teams I put on my do not play list. And, unless it's just an extreme situation where the slate just, moves you that way. And the Royals were on that list, they just didn't seem to hit enough homers for me as a team. And I'm still kind of skeptical a little bit. But, yeah, Varsho is definitely a guy you could look at here. But as far as a full stack, maybe a mini stack, I might be a little bit more interested in. Schneider might, you might want to go the 5-6 route if you wanted to go down there. I wouldn't probably go much further down than Schneider. If you wanted to throw in Guerrero and then bounce down a little bit, if you wanted to do that with 3-man. But, I think mini stack for both are in play for me. I wouldn't full stack either. I think both are, though, in play for mini stacks.
Yeah, makes sense. I have a little more, I think, interest in the Blue Jays. Guaranteed ninth inning at bat. They're cheap. You can fit like a Grayson Rodriguez, Pablo, 5-man. And yeah, I definitely look at weather, solid hitting weather. I always like the guarantee ninth inning at bats. They got some pop in the lineup. Now, talk about another team that lets me down a ton, the Blue Jays. But at the end of the day, who hasn't let me down to start this year? 5-man stacking at all these teams have been pretty rough. Pitching's dominated. It's been gross for bats. And I do think they come in lower owned. So out of all the games we talked about so far, I think that's my sneaky game if I had to pick one. I do have some interest in Gausman. We talked about the cases for the Royals. They like to run as well. Like Bobby Witt's got 40-point upside that very few have on this slate. Acuna, obviously there's a couple guys out there. He can get it done in every way. Power in the middle of the order. The Blue Jays have power as well. I think Walker's just So, yeah, a low-key game if you're going to surround chalk is how I look at this game right here. Next game, talk about some chalk. We're going to get some chalk bats in this one. Houston Astros, Chicago Cubs, JP France, Jordan Wicks. Only 60 degrees in Chicago, but winds blowing directly out at 15 miles an hour. Wrigley Wig game, 10 total in this one. Fits the heart of summer, and it's like 80 degrees there. You're looking at 12 and a half or something right here. JP France, reverse splits, so you prefer the righties. But you can play Cody Bellinger, you can play Tauchman, Bush, etc. Prefer the righties, though, on that side. Jordan Wicks, though, more of a wild card man, lefty, so I definitely prefer. I don't know, man. His splits actually look pretty neutral as well. The sample isn't as big on Wicks. So talk about these Astros first. They're going to get some ownership, no doubt about that. Cubs going to get some ownership. It's almost like these two, I wouldn't even be surprised to see higher owned than the Padres. Talk to me on that because, yeah, everyone's been chirping Padres in our chats. Feltner's not terrible. Astros have a higher team or about the same. Cubs a little less, but the pricing, the Cubs are cheaper for the most part than these Padres. So I guess this bottom of the order is absolutely free for the Padres. Yeah, I don't know. Talk about this game and how they rank amongst the Padres and just like favorite stacks on the slate. If ownership wasn't a thing, is it in this game?
Yeah, I mean, both sides of this game is interesting. It's got the highest total, 10.5, wind blown out. Earlier in the day, it was actually up in the 20s. It was supposed to be blown out. I know you mentioned that that kind of died down a little bit, but, you look at this Houston side against the lefty, Jordan Wicks, Alvarez and Tucker absolutely smash lefties. Both of them can just crush lefties. So definitely keep them in your stacks. I wouldn't worry about that. The only guy I'm really concerned about is Bregman. Bregman can't seem to hit a beach ball to save his life here recently. Diaz is definitely interesting. Pena is interesting. I like McCormick down there in the bottom part of that lineup also. So, yeah, definitely Houston is a team that I am interested in here today. I like Houston bats. I like the other side, too, with the Cubs bats. I think the Cubs are definitely, as you mentioned, they're going to be a cheap stack. Definitely somewhere I'm going to want to be looking at here. France, as you mentioned, reverse splits type pitcher. The righties, you got Horner, Morel. Bush has been smacking the shit out of the ball here recently. So definitely like me some Bush. Who doesn't like Bush, right? I like Bush beer. I like Bush wherever I got Bush. So, but yeah, give me some Cubbies. I think this game here, you're sitting at a 10.5. I mean, you could even probably game stack this one if you wanted to, would be something you could look at here. But Cubs, I think, are going to be a pretty popular stack. Are we talking who's going to be the chalkiest stack? It could be the Cubs. I think they're in play for that here.
Could be the Stros, too.
It could be either one, really. I mean, along with the Padres, if you want to go there. But yeah, I mean, hey, we like to have fun here.
Well, yeah,
talking Bush is fun. I mean, I could talk Bush all day. It don't matter.
You and Antonio Brown can be talking Bush with each other.
Oh man, that was pretty funny tweet though. Man. I know he caught a lot of shit for that. He actually stole that from somebody. I forgot who he stole that from. But man, AB's Twitter account lately, I don't even know if that's him. That's like I'm debating if that's even him. Somebody said he stole the Twitter.
It probably is him.
Who knows? But it could be him. CT, ESPN, whatever the hell they call it. But yeah, funny crap.
Hey, what about Ryan Garcia, baby? What about? I don't know if you followed all that. People, he was going down his thing too, and then he's talking crazy, and who knows what's all true, what's not. The line goes crazy. That's $2 million to win $12 million on himself with that line going like that. It's either a million IQ and he's too sharp, or I mean, yeah, he was sharp right there. But yeah, that's on another point. Somehow we got from Bush to AB to that. But yeah, that
hey,
was
it's good times. You never know where this show may veer, especially if
Nah.
I have a safety meeting before the show. My brain goes one way and then it goes another way sometimes. And hey, that's how it works, man.
That's life, baby. That's life. Always got to have fun. Keep it relaxed. Good to see you, Jordan. Hey, you weren't relaxed in a meeting?
Safety meetings, Jordan. You got them safety meetings.
Nah, he was grinding, popped in, now ready to get up there in the MLB leaderboards. I know he'll be in the NBA streets as well. Good to see you, though, Jordan. I think someone there you go. Someone else thinks he took over AB's account. Man, AB would have had to sell that for a lot of cheese, though, if he's getting framed.
He probably don't even know what's happening, man. That dude probably don't even know.
Oh, gosh. I had plenty of safety. Don't worry about that. Jordan's in the safety meetings.
Yeah,
All right, let's keep it rolling. That Astros-Cubs game is going to be – I think the Stros are probably the highest. I don't know, man. People still don't love lefty, and Tucker Alvarez are expensive, Altuve. But with Michael King down there, I do think Astros-Cubs, this is probably the most chalky game on the slate, even over Coors if I had to guess. But it is all relatively close. Again, I don't have a strong lean on ownership. Right now,
at 10.5, all the optimizers are going to push people to Cubs. I mean,
actually, yeah, I'm glad you said that. I'm not seeing winds blowing in now. Again, I'm not a weatherman, though. All I did is I went to look at the total, and it's now 10.5. So I think if it was blowing in now, we'd be looking at like a 9 or something like that. So I assume it is still blowing out, but definitely worth taking a look at that. Do the A's get to Stroman? We'll talk about Stroman and the A's in a sec, Rick. Next game on the slate, Arizona Diamondbacks, St. Louis Cardinals, 8.5 total. Tommy Henry, Steven Matz on the mound, 60 degrees in St. Louis. I don't know, man. These Cardinals have been bad. Goldie finally got one out yesterday. Arenado against the lefty. Yeah, probably the middle of the order. Contreras against the lefty, Arenado against the lefty, Goldie against the lefty. Don't love playing lefty. Tommy Henry's not good by any means. But, man, these Cardinals aren't good either, Gyiraszin. Really just mini stack in the middle of the order for me. It's hard to get behind. It's hard to really see the Cardinals being on the winner in a 5-man stack at the end of the day on this 10-game slate is how I see it. So, how do you see it?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the Cardinals. Actually, the Cardinals have been a team that I've been kind of chasing around yesterday. Yesterday, I like that Brandon Piff, whatever his name is. I can't say that dude's name, whatever.
It's got to be Fott, and someone might correct me, but Brandon Fott, that's one I think I know.
Paft, whatever. But, I mean, the Cardinals are hitting 190 in the last week with 2 homers. I mean, they can't hit their way out of a damn paper bag. But you're right, Goldsmith absolutely smoked the shit out of that one yesterday. But, yeah, I got no interest in these Cardinals. Now, I think, on the low-end side here, I think these Arizona bats might be a little bit interesting against Matt. I think you could definitely go there. I mean, Christian Walker is a guy that I'd be looking at. Gurriel's been smashing the shit out of it like Eugenio. Marino struggled a little bit, but Grichuk hits lefties well. So Arizona's a team that I think is not getting talked about that you could definitely play. But, yeah, Christian Walker is probably one of my top one-off guys here today.
He's going to be super, super low on. Yeah, I mean, if you get Grichuk, Moreno, Blaze at shortstop down below, I guess I don't mind some of them. You don't want a 5-man them, do you, against Mats?
No,
you definitely want the righties.
I think I'd mini stack, but I do like more one-offs, and I keep finding myself liking some of these D-backs one-off. Gurriel's not a bad play, but yeah, I think the D-backs are definitely interesting here today.
Yeah, Moreno, good call, Andrew Martinez. Moreno in the 2-hole looks definitely good. 3.8K, both catchers in this game.
Last time he went in the 2-hole, wasn't it last week? And we talked about guys moving up in the lineup, and Moreno, somebody said Moreno can't hit shit. Moving in the 2-hole, he gets 3 hits that day. So, I like when managers move guys up from the bottom of the lineup in the 2-hole because they know the dude behind the scenes is working at it, and they want to give him a couple extra at-bats. Yeah,
1 through 6. You want righties against Mats. You got 6 righties right there, 1 through 6. Don't love Pavin Smith. Yeah, no, not at first. I'd play Walker, Jake McCarthy down there, Newman's cheeks. I guess it fills out second shortstop. And again, I'm saying this like hand building. If you're playing 20 teams or 150 teams and you land on a Pavin Smith or anybody really in a 5-man stack, even though you don't – Matt Olson we talked about earlier, just go with it. Like it's baseball. Especially if your 5-man stack gets there, that very well could mean they get to the starting pitcher in the first couple innings. You get a whole game of the bullpen, and you're down 8-0, the other team's not going to be trying to play matchups, righty, lefties, etc. They're going to throw their bat arms, try and get by with the day. Then the 1%, 2% that had the wrong split before has the right splits for the majority of their bats. So again, this is just more matchups on paper, hand building. I much prefer 1 through 6 if I am playing the D-backs. Do prefer it as a mini stack though. Still only 55 degrees, 60 degrees in St. Louis. And you said you prefer D-backs over the Cardinal side? Just the
I wouldn't stack the Cardinals they're down there in the Indians range. I wouldn't stack the Cardinals to save from my life for shit. I'm out. No way am I stacking the Cardinals until they can put a good week together. Like I said, they're hitting 190 as a team. And I'm not going there. I'm not playing any team like that. But yeah, as I said, D-backs. I think that one might be my sneaker of the day.
All right. That's the sneaky of the day. I like it. We got 4 games left. Some of these will be quick right here. Mariners, Rangers, 9 total. Gilbert, Dane Dunning on the mound. I'll throw it right to you in this one because you did have some interest in Dane Dunning. You had interest in both pitchers. Dunning is the cheap one. Gilbert, you didn't love as much because of the price, but he's been really good to start the year. I just don't love picking on Texas and the prices he was around. I preferred Rodriguez, Pablo, etc. for the upside. Not a game I really love the bats, but man, it's going to be super, super low owned. Lefties do get Dunning. So if I want to play anybody, JP Crawford in the one hole. And yeah, unfortunately, this freaking Seattle team is full of righties. I don't love righties against Dunning as much. So yeah, you just hope he walks some batters, I think, lets up guys on base, and then a couple singles, doubles, etc. to get Dunning out of there is how I see it. But not a game I really love bats by any means. You?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of any of the bats here either. I like both pitchers. I think Dunning is, like I mentioned earlier, I think that's my sneaky pitcher of the day too. I like his K prop at the price he's sitting at 5.5. I think that's interesting. I actually already bet on that too. 5.5 K prop. When I was doing some research, I thought, Seattle's been striking out quite a bit, especially against righties. So I already bet on that one. I was worried that would get up to maybe 6.5, which it didn't happen. But I'm not a fan. But in a normal circumstance where we wouldn't, I guess there's 10 games. So if there was maybe 6 or 7 games, and with Dunning, that would be a perfect opportunity to hedge and stack against Dunning. You know what I mean? Like Seattle's actually the last week been hitting it pretty decent, but I think Dunning is just a good play here today. But if you're MMEing, and don't be afraid to play Dunning, and I wouldn't be afraid necessarily to even stack against him as well. So, if you wanted to go that route, I'm not saying Dunning isn't going to be popular enough to really get some major leverage off that. So, I'm not really a fan of it, just because there isn't enough games. I think if there wasn't as many games, I think, you might see Dunning with a little bit more ownership. But with King in there, I think that's going to take a lot of that ownership away. But a lot of times, if I think a pitcher is like a lights out kind of guy, like a Severino, like sometimes I just like to hedge it the other way. And, and I'm not saying play $100 worth against that, throwing a $15 lineup against them, that's what I'm talking about. Cause if that goes off and he's a chalky pitcher, you're going to be, the leverage is severe. So I do like situations like that. Not saying that's today, but I just bringing it up just because of, Texas has got a lot of power, and Dunning, he can get blown up, but I also think he could mow some of these guys down here today.
I'll definitely, I piggyback on that. I brought it up with Kikuchi in the past. I brought it up with a little Gossman today. Like, I like Gossman a little bit, but if you're playing 20 teams in non-Gossman lineups, you can play the other team. Like, you're building a portfolio, trying to take as less risk as possible is still the most upside. And baseball is the most varying sport out there. Like, you run this slate today 1,000 times. There's plenty of slates where Dunning's on the winner, and there's plenty of slates where Dunning gets shelled, and then Seattle's on the winner. Like, that is just baseball. Do not be scared. Just because you love a pitcher, like, I'm not going to play the White Sox against Pablo Lopez today. If that's you want to do it. But just, if you build a portfolio and you're playing 10, 20, 30 teams, don't be scared you play some Gossman, you play some of the other side. You play some Dunning, you play some Mariners. And do it because you think, Dunning, if he does walk a lot of guys, like, you can see the Mariners been hitting the ball pretty well. If you can see it both sides, I think I do it personally, like 100%. I played some Lance Lynn yesterday, played some D-backs on the other side.
To do that against. Yeah, Lance Lynn is a perfect example. That guy can mow down 8 guys and still give up 3 bombs.
Yep. Yeah. So stuff like that for sure. Do not be scared about that in baseball one bit. 3 games left, Gyiraszin. Appreciate everyone hanging. 160 people watching live. Know a lot watch on playback as well. Take 2 seconds out of the day. Like button helps us out a ton. Subscribe button helps us out a ton. And if you want to join us at the Nation, weekly, monthly, 6-month, and annual options. The monthly, 6-month, and annual options include the Discord. Huge piece of our product. And you can use the promo code HOOP15 to get you 15% off. NFL, you see right there, not going on yet. Can't wait for the draft, though. NBA going on, PGA going on, MMA going on, NHL going on, MLB going on, NASCAR going on. That's a lot of cheese right there. And I will say, stuff like college football spring games. Smarty, I see posting a core in the Discord for that. Very sharp member. Tennis, some esports, very knowledgeable people. That's not what we charge for our product. We do have Discord channels in there, though. People are talking about it. Kim helps in soccer, drops her stuff. So many sharp members. Talking game theory, talking other sports. Just an awesome community in the Discord. And I will say, mainly my guy Sally out there, but a couple people. There is a Tilt Nation Discord piece we have in there as well. If you're not feeling your golfer's going awful, your guy gets hurt, don't put it in the main channels. Put it in the Tilt Nation channels. 3 games left, Gyiraszin, Coors Field, San Diego Padres, Colorado Rockies, Mike King, Ryan Feltner on the mound, 9.5 total, 60 degrees in Colorado. Colorado's going to be low owned. So if you want to take a chance on them, actually, I will say this right now. I like Colorado for the simple fact Michael King's going to get ownership. I'm always a sucker for Coors Field, and the Rockies bats are going to be very low owned. Now their lineup stinks, so that's the problem right there. Nolan Jones would be one of my favorites. McMahon, Charlie Blackmon, Diaz at the catcher position. I do like it. The park, though, and leverage off a chalky pitcher. So I'm in for some of the Rockies. More than likely than not, they put up 2 runs, you lose your money. So be it. When they do win, you win all the cheese. Padres, though, I don't know. I'll let you talk about them. Feels like everyone doesn't want to play them. So if everyone's going to go like Astros, Cubs, and this game Padres gets a little overlooked, the 4th highest owned stack or something on the slate, I'm a sucker for it. But there is no Machado. The bottom of the lineup looks bad. I get it. I get the concern. How do you see it?
Yeah, this game started out at 10.5 and Vegas got bet down to 9.5. We're talking a Coors Field game that lost a run. I mean, how you don't see that often. I think that just has something to do with, the burn last night of the Padres. I mean, only getting us 3 runs, very, very weak. But without Machado, Machado is one of the main cogs in this lineup. I'm not a fan of playing this team right now. The Padres just not hitting very well overall as a team. Feltner is a guy, though. This dude's K rate's been up there here recently. He's got 30% K rate against lefties. He's got 25% K rate so far this year against righties. I'm not going to play him. I'm not interested in playing him. I just don't think the Padres are going to get to him. I just don't see it. But it is Coors Field, sure. It is the best park, obviously, for us to play. If this game's in San Diego, I think this game is what, very a 7.5, maybe an 8 game, possibly. So I don't really have any interest. I'm not interested. If you want to talk one-offs, I'm from the Rocky side. I think Blackmon at the top of that lineup, maybe Nolan Jones would be somebody I'd look at if you wanted to go there. The leverage would be absolutely huge if Blackmon hits a dong, especially over there on DK, because I think King's going to be pretty popular. So Blackmon, if you're not going King, I think Blackmon be a guy I might look at for a one-off on my teams here tonight.
Yeah, and I will say I like by far the Rockies way more on DraftKings than FanDuel because of the leverage. Do not like the Rockies much on FanDuel. 1-pitcher site, Pablo Lopez will be the guy. 2-pitcher site, King's going to get a lot more ownership, and that's where you get the direct leverage. You get the Coors Field aspect. Again, King coming off a monster performance, but struggled a little bit early. Nolan Jones, McMahon, Blackmon, Diaz. I'm interested in some of these lefties, but I will warn you, a lot of the year, the opposite side of Coors Field, which usually is opposite side of the chalk at Coors Field, which almost always is these Rockies because they stink. I play them more than I should. and I like it even more. I play it more than I should, but it's rare you actually get leverage off a pitcher because people don't like paying pitchers in Coors Field. Now you get one of those rare double dip opportunities. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say there.
That's a good point about the leverage. You don't get that often in Coors. No. You don't see too many. And you know what, though? We might see it a little bit more than we have in the past just because the Rockies suck so bad. But, yeah, that's a good point about getting the leverage off King there. But as I said, I think Blackmon, for me, is one of the top one-offs in the whole slate.
Yeah, that's all. I'm not going to keep talking about them, though. It is the Rockies at the end of the day. Yeah, more than likely they probably bust. But when they don't, you got a chance to win all the cheese. 2 games left. Gyiraszin, Baltimore Orioles, Los Angeles Angels, 8.5 total, 60 degrees. Grayson Rodriguez, Griffin Canning on the mound. I like Baltimore. No Angels for me. As far as the Baltimore side against Canning, man, dude, these Baltimore, they can hit. This lineup, top to bottom, can hit. The pricing is fair. Late night hammer, not the best hitting weather. But yeah, there's plenty of other games I didn't really like on this slate. I like Baltimore. Guaranteed 9th inning at bat. I think 1 through 9 is firmly in play. They don't break the bank. Only 2 guys, Adley, Gunnar, above 5K. If this Heston Hurstad guy is in the lineup, only 2-4. Jackson Holliday's down there at 3-5. Yeah, 1 through 9, I think this lineup's in play. One of my favorite stacks. O's can hit. The Orioles can hit, and a lot of these teams haven't been hitting, so I'll ride a hot team. What about you?
Man, the Orioles are probably my favorite stack here today. They're as you mentioned.
Oh, gosh, hold on. This is what I hate. I love the O's. You love the O's. Don't know how you don't like the O's. O's for the money. I will say, we've been around too long, Gyiraszin. Somehow everyone likes this. It usually doesn't end up well. That's all I had to say.
Hey, that's all right, man. The O's, though, I mean, the numbers don't lie, dude. They're second in the MLB in the last week in slugging. They've been hitting the shit out of it. Jackson Holliday isn't looking too good. He's not, but you know what?
Jackson Holliday recently.
He's gonna find it. That kid's too good. But Santander's been hitting the shit out of it. I like Ryan O'Hearn there. I mean, all these lefties here against Griffin Cannon, Mullins, Cowser. Westberg's been hitting the ball pretty well. So Gunnar Henderson at the top of that lineup. Man, shortstop's absolutely loaded here today for sure. But, man, Orioles for me, one of my favorite stacks. You know, as the day went on, I woke up a little early. I was looking at baseball at like 8 this morning over here in Eastern time zone. You were in bed, Title.
You thought it was 5:15 is the alarm over here, big man. 8:15 right, Eastern.
So I was looking at it and I was thinking, man, are the Orioles going to be a little sneaky here today? You know, it's sitting at an 8.5 game total. I thought maybe I can get some Orioles pretty cheap today, and I'm kind of realizing that ain't going to be the case. But I do like the Orioles here today. I think the Orioles could be in the top handful of teams as far as favorite stacks here by most of the crowd here in the DFS world. But, yeah, give me some Orioles. You got that late night hammer too. That late stack gets you across the finish line. So, yeah, give me some Orioles bats. I'm a fan all the way around.
And I will say, though, the Orioles, it's like the Chicago game, Coors, etc. But also, you can play these guys 1 through 9. I think everyone sees that. Where then, even in Baltimore stacks, you can be on different things. Whereas, like Braves, Acuna, Riley, Ozuna, etc. Like, you don't want the lefties necessarily. Fletcher at the bottom. It's a lot more concentrated. These Padres, you want to play Tatis. Like, otherwise, that lineup looks awful. I think you could. If you want to play 5 through 9 on these Orioles, I think you can play 5 through 9. And that's not crazy at all. It's cheap. You could go with Grayson Rodriguez. Like, I like that as well. You know, you can play 5 batters and then throw your pitcher in there as well. Paddock with 5 Twins won it yesterday. So I totally like doing that as well. Rodriguez throws a jet, or he gets the win. O's give him run support, and they put a beat down on him. And yeah, 1 through 9 is in play, I think. And that does have more options on how you can stack them. But yeah. My favorite stack, the O's. The O's are in this. I mean, everyone's saying the O's definitely always concerns me, especially in a sport like baseball. I don't know. I'm not going to say any more, Jordan. Last game on the slate, Gyiraszin. It's going to take me a whopping 5 seconds, and that's because I just have to introduce the game. San Francisco Giants, New York Mets, Luis Severino, Logan Webb, 7 total, 60 degrees, X. Give me the pitchers. What about you?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of either of the bats in this game. I'm not even really a fan of the pitchers, maybe Webb there, but Yeah, I'm not going there. No bats for me. This game totals a 7. We can just pass. But going back to the Orioles, I mean, there's so many decent plays here today. A lot of us can like the Orioles, but I think you're still going to see ownership on the Cubs. You're going to see ownership on the Astros. You're going to see ownership still on the Padres here today. And I think you're going to see some ownership on the Twins, especially if somebody goes high end pitching, especially over on DK. So I still think the Orioles are in a pretty good spot. I'm not really worried about the Orioles being too chalky here today. So I guess, hey, we're going to ride with the Orioles. We'll be back here tomorrow. And we're either going to be laughing about it or we're going to be like, damn it, we missed that one. But I think the Orioles, for me, I like Santander today. I think he could definitely hit a bomb. I did look at Jackson Holliday's home run prop. He's sitting at like 8.5, 8.5 to 1 to hit a homer. The kid's too good of a hitter not to hit a homer. I just think his nerves were, there coming up to the big leagues. But I think when that kid starts hitting, he's going to continue to hit. So, we're going to want to get on there early. So I wouldn't be afraid of playing Jackson Holliday. I don't give a shit if he's 1 for 30 or not. That kid's too good to not be hitting the baseball.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be really low owned too. I'm totally good with it as well. That's all 10 games. And again, stack rankings, pitcher rankings, hitter rankings, all on the site as well. Projections updated throughout the night. NBA playoffs going on tonight. Hoop did the PGA show. Check that out. I know it's a different format this week. MMA going on this week. NASCAR going on this week. Sounds like a lot of money to be made over here, Gyiraszin. Hoop 15 gets you 15% off monthly, 6-month, and annual packages. And, of course, shout out 4Deep for the MLB sponsor. If you want to check out betting, Tommy G's absolutely been on fire. It's more than just picks, education, process as well. If you're a SHIPIT Nation member, go to the sports betting channel. You can get 2 weeks for free to check it out. If you're not, that link right there, shipitnation.com/4Deep. Promo code SHIPIT gets you 20% off any membership. Awesome stuff today, as always, Gyiraszin. Appreciate everyone hanging out. As always, keep saying as always, but we really do. A lot of familiar faces. Makes these shows a lot of fun. Little over an hour 15 talking some baseball. Let's get to the top of the leaderboard tonight. Good luck out there. Have a great night. Be safe. Gyiraszin on Titletown. Good luck.